Right, everyone. Well, thank you again for joining us this evening, this afternoon, wherever you guys are tuning in from. My name is Matt Dykman. I'm the Marketing and Sales Operations Manager for Pixellot US. Joining me this afternoon / evening is Kiki Enderly, our VP for Coaching and Analytics, as well as one of our longstanding ADs in the Pixellot community, Jason Eyer of Paradise Adventist Academy. We're very much looking forward to this conversation about Jason's experience with Pixellot since joining us several years ago, and really taking full advantage of the technology that Pixellot and Vidswap offer. Before we get going, just want to give you guys a quick background on the company itself. Pixellot's been pioneering AI automated sports camera and analytics technology since 2013, with a series of fixed and portable camera solutions. In addition to our Vidswap advanced analytics platform, we continue to revolutionize how sports are captured with the mission of empowering athletes, coaches, and administrators across the globe. And we are very much excited to learn more about how that's impacted Jason's experiences within his own high school program. And without further ado, I'd love to turn it over to Kiki right now and have this conversation kick off.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And Jason, welcome to the webinar. And thanks again for being a part of this special discussion and talking about AI technology, what it not only does for your school, but what it does for a lot of other schools across the country. I think just a couple things that I think we want to focus on tonight is certainly the perspective that you can give all of our participants on being innovative and bringing technology to your school. Second of all, I think it's going to be important to help other schools understand the benefit of that technology and what it can do for athletic administrators, what it can do for coaches, certainly what it can do for family and friends when they can't be at events to watch the live streams. And lastly, to offer our participants the opportunity to learn more about our products after this webinar and to register more and get an in-depth look at our analytics platform as well as our mobile AI camera. So without further ado, Jason, again, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do for student athletes and coaches at your school. I know it's a tough job, and it's great to have great leadership like yourself. So just to kind of kick it off, talk to us a little bit about how you even learned about Pixellot and what they do.
Yeah, so I'm from Northern California, and our section of CIF has an annual AD kind of symposium at the beginning of each school year. And so it was probably in 2015-ish, 2016. I can't remember the exact date, but one of the sales reps that was representing at that time the NFHS network and the Pixellot cameras, he did a sales presentation. It was a brand new product that no one in our area had really had or heard of. And so it was from that we kind of spurred our interest. And then we've kind of started with one Pixellot camera and have just kind of moved on from there to where now we have a couple of Pixellot cameras on our campus and a portable Pixellot camera, and we use Vidswap for analytics. So it all started back in 2015-ish with that at that AD meeting.
Yeah, you were actually probably one of the very first schools to join, because I believe that partnership with the NFHS network started in 2016 with Pixellot, which, you know, what a great company Pixellot is with regards to how much they've grown and the innovation that they've added to their repertoire of products. So, you know, talking about that end-to-end solution and providing those cameras that live stream to the NFHS network, and having hardware in gyms and facilities where schools don't need to worry about finding someone to video their games, which we know is always a challenge. But being able to have that all automated, no one having to operate a camera, being live streamed to the NFHS network, and then Pixellot also offering Vidswap, the coaching analytics platform, to pull that film automatically. Talk to a little bit about how that process alone, saving your coach's time, has helped your staff.
Yeah, so I mean, we started with Vidswap actually before we had a Pixellot camera. So Vidswap was a fairly new company at the time that we joined that originally as well. So we kind of jumped on board. Prior to that, I was using a program called Game Breaker, which I had been referred to by somebody that coaches at the college level, one of my college friends. So I was doing all of the analytic stuff manually. So I was tagging all of the games. And so we would video the game, find somebody to video the game, which was always difficult, of course. And then I would take the video home, upload it to my computer, and then stay up late, trying to tag all these different events in the game that we wanted to then show the next day at practice. So it came across my emails, probably, I'm guessing at that time, where I saw that Vidswap was this, seemed like new technology to me at the time, that they would take your films and then break it down for you so you wouldn't have to do that. And me being I'm at a very small school. I'm the AD, I'm the head basketball coach. I coach volleyball also, amongst other things. But to have that available and to save that time was huge, especially back in the day when that kind of wasn't really known yet.
Yeah.
Like, I remember people using that much. So that was definitely the catalyst that drew me towards Vidswap at that time. It was a time saver, and it was really, really well done, even at that time in the beginning. And we loved it. And so that's where it started.
Yeah, those two pieces that you just mentioned, and I definitely want to highlight it as features to the Vidswap platform. Number one, the efficiency, where you as a coach don't need to worry about downloading and then uploading film, and obviously then having to break it down manually. So the efficiency in having that film automated from the camera, and also from any venue where there is a Pixellot camera, and then getting those analytics back within that 48-hour window, which is one of the fastest in the industry right now, is such a huge time saver to give you time back for your own personal use. So that certainly is a benefit, as well as to your other coaches.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, with the analytics, and I believe you are maybe 1 year into using the Air camera. Being at one point I was with the NFHS network, and one of the biggest pain points we would hear from schools is, what do we take when we're on the road? What do we use when we don't have the infrastructure to put in a fixed camera, a Pixellot camera? And then the mobile Air unit came out almost a year and a half ago, which has been such a great solution for schools to use to capture game film, and solely use it right now as a coaching tool so that they can upload film after the fact. And I believe you now are a user of the Air, correct?
We are, yep. And that was a huge thing for us as well, because at that time that we got the Air, there weren't a whole lot of schools that we played that had a Pixellot camera installed. There were some, and it's definitely gotten more since we started using the Air. But I would take an iPad, and I would, as soon as the girls' game, we play doubleheaders with our girls' teams, and as soon as the girls' game was done, I was like trying to find a girl, like, hey, can you stay during this game? Can you film? It's like, and it's like every time was in panic mode, like, who's going to film this game for us today? And so again, when Sean, I think, had the same kind of thing, he came to this AD meeting at the beginning of, I think, last school year, or I saw this, actually, that one I think I got through an email as well, and I immediately responded saying, like, we're interested in that. Like, I have a hard time finding people to film, and just takes that headache away. And so now we were then, for sure, it was easy setup. Now I knew that we were going to have every game covered.
Right, and that Air camera having the same AI technology as the fixed cameras is a remarkable product. I happen to use it myself personally, and I just think it's a great product for schools, especially small schools who may not have that infrastructure like we talked about. And lastly, to kind of wrap it up on our end-to-end solution, we also have our Vidswap replay, which is when we have coaches who want to see multiple angles of the game and see that film, during game time, live during the game. And very common in football, but we're really seeing it being exposed in volleyball, as well as baseball and softball. So those have been some, that's been a big product for us. So that end-to-end solution, and you being one of the users of all of Pixellot's products, is remarkable, and we appreciate you working with our company. Talk a little bit about, I know back in 2018 in Paradise, California, there was devastation of the fires, the wildfires, and I know it impacted your community greatly. Talk to us a little bit about that experience, and how did the technology that you had in place help the community? Because I think it's a really interesting piece to bring to other people's attention.
Yep. So, I mean, like any high school, everybody has like their loyal followers and their, their fans, and then of course they have their grandparents that live in other areas or whatever. But so after the fire, what I was very grateful for is when we moved locations to Chico, which you can see there in the left-hand side of that map, just down the hill a little bit. We were able and fortunate enough to find another gym that we could use. So we took our Pixellot camera from our gym, which remarkably wasn't damaged throughout fire. Our gym was not really that badly. There's a picture of it right there, actually, after the fire. So we took it down from our gym and moved it into our other gym, and our community, our families that have been displaced were able to still keep in touch and see what was going on and watch games. So, grandparents that had lived in town that had moved to Oregon or Washington, basically all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Families that were part of the program prior that had to move away and relocate because of the fire. They were able to stay connected to what was happening here at our school. And so it was definitely really important part of just kind of that that post-fired era of just, everyone being all over the place. And that kind of was one way that people were able to stay connected to what was happening.
Yeah, your story's not, I've heard similar stories, maybe not related to wildfires, but different things, whether a family had to go away. I know when they were taking kids back to colleges and couldn't get back to see their kids that were still in high school. So many different stories I've heard after now being involved with both the network and Pixellot for the last 6 years. So it's remarkable, what hardware and what technology has been able to offer people in some difficult times. So what a great service that has been to keep your families connected, so that they could see the kids participate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know last we spoke, there was some experience that you've had with other competitors with regards, I think mainly the analytics side of it. Talk a little bit with us, what made you switch to using Vidswap?
Yeah, switch back to it recently.
Right.
Yeah. So the main part of the reason why we moved back, there were several. One was when Pixellot and Vidswap merged, and the seamlessness of having games that were streamed to the network and then would automatically be uploaded into Vidswap for breakdowns. Like that to me was a huge piece that we were really anxious to get to be a part of. So, just again, trying to streamline everything and streamline the workflow. And so instead of having to download the video from the NFHS network and the console, and then waiting for that to show up and then downloading it and then re-uploading it into a different platform, waiting for the breakdown, all that stuff. It was just like, there's only so many hours in a day. And if a basketball game gets over at 9 o'clock at night, by the time all of that happens, it seems like it took several hours. And so, it was nice to be able to know that when they did merge, that the film would be there, it would automatically get selected to be tagged and broken down. And so that during the night, like I knew that the next morning before school started, it would be done and ready to go. And I could start watching it pretty much, right when I got to work the next day. The other part of it is that we just preferred the Vidswap platform to begin with. Like we had started with Vidswap back when they started, probably in the 2015-ish or 16-ish area again. And really liked the difference between the two. Like Vidswap for basketball especially, Vidswap is timeline based, which meant that you could clip out, say, like a person's all of their shots or all of their rebounds and not have to watch the entire possession. So that if you wanted to see just their shots, and you could select it to a lead time of however many seconds you wanted before that shot took place, and then have a lag time of however many seconds you wanted after that shot. So just that flexibility of not having to see, if you wanted to see a 3-point shot that happened towards the end of a 30-second possession, you wouldn't have to watch the whole 30-second clip. You could clip it to only show like the 2 seconds before and the 2 seconds after. It made it much easier to use. The other thing that was really, I think, different and better for us that we preferred in Vidswap was the ability to download those clips and share those clips. So when we went to like make highlights or to do reviews, the way that we did it is we would download them, and I had them like on a SD card or a portable hard drive, so I could take them where I needed to go. And because some of our classrooms, our locker room didn't at that time have the greatest internet access, so the download capabilities I thought were just much more seamless, much easier to use. And then when we went to make a highlight video at the end of the season, like picking out the things that we wanted to include in that video were, I felt like much easier in Vidswap, and I just found it so much more quickly, much more efficient. And so those combination of all of those things is what brought us back to Vidswap after being away. I think 2 years is we use something else, but yeah, I love Vidswap. I have no interest in probably doing anything else, especially because of how streamlined it is with the cameras now.
Yeah, hearing your experience like that in depth is really re-encouraging also for someone who is working, almost every day on Vidswap and with our sales team, and hearing your perspective. I always felt that the schools that had, especially the schools that had the fixed Pixellot cameras in their venues, as a former athletic director myself, why would you want to use anything different? You do have some very high powered technology in your facilities. Your position as an athletic director is very busy and very time consuming. So to have to learn something new, I think, is really difficult to ask, and makes all the sense in the world to have this camera in your facility, knowing that it's automated with a Vidswap, with the analytics platform, and offering all of the efficiency and the features that you just mentioned, and the ability to share film with people who are using other platforms, offering the unlimited storage, which is really unique from any other competitor, having that efficiency from the cameras, not only at your venue, but when you go to an away venue, and not having to worry about that game because it's going to be automatically uploaded. And certainly, and I know we kind of went by some of the slides, but having those clickable stats. So as a basketball coach, if you want to see the turnovers that you had last night, you could just click on the 20 turnovers that you had. I mean, hopefully, coach, you're not getting 20 turnovers in a game, but
that's a pretty. Have you seen us play? You must.
Somebody's going to be sitting on the bench, but being able to like pull them up right away, right, and do that without even having to dive into the platform yet, I just think is, as a former basketball coach, I would have loved that, but I was in the VCR years, so
Yeah.
So it's great to hear your perspective on that. What I'm just curious, what's one of the greatest features that you love as a basketball coach in Vidswap?
I think it's the clickable stats. It just makes it so much more easy and efficient to just be able to click on the things that you want to see right away. It's very well done. It's very easy to read. So, I mean, if there's any fear about switching, like, it's so just the user friendliness of the whole platform is really nothing to be afraid of or scared of. It's super easy to use. So I find that we use that a lot. I do go in still and tag some things manually, which you have the capability to do. So if we have a set play, for example, that we're running during the day or during a game, so obviously you can clip out the offensive possessions, and then so usually my workflow would be, if I'm tagging offense, I'll clip out those possessions, and then I'll just just go really quickly through them, and I have it pre-made. I just click, oh, that's our fist play, that's our handoff play, whatever play calls we have, I can mark those. And then when we go back to show the team, they can find those in the filters to watch them. And then we can show those at practice as well. So, the clickable stats for sure, the ability to still manually tag some things that are unique to your teams. Those are the things that we use the most. Yep.
Good. Great to hear. Now, we talked a lot about, the benefits that you see as a coach as well. How do you feel, having the cameras and having Vidswap as the athletic director now, in your role as the athletic director, how has it benefited all of your programs?
Yeah, I mean, I coach obviously a couple of our sports, and then in the ones
Hmm.
that I don't, like, the coaches don't really have to worry about any of the tech other than just the analytic that they want to see from their sport. So they don't have to worry about any of the filming, any of the uploading, any all of that has been taken out of their hands. And that's helpful to our coaches who are mostly volunteer.
Hmm.
It's a huge time saver for them, so they don't have to worry about that. They get the same access that every team has without having the headache of trying to find somebody to film, trying to find somebody to, worrying about uploading and downloading and all of those different components that if you didn't have the seamless thing. And then, like you mentioned before, I think now that more schools are getting Pixellot cameras in our area, especially, we know that when we go to away games, and most of the time, like, those games are going to automatically show up in our tagged team page. So
Hmm.
you really don't have to do anything on the road. We went to a basketball tournament in Southern California last December, and I didn't know that they had Pixellot cameras at the gym. And so we took our Air down there and we're planning to record. And after the first day of games, went back to our hotel, was starting to upload the files, and I looked on our page and the games were already there and they were already being logged. So
Wow.
it's especially with the push that the NFHS network has made to get Pixelots in as many gyms as possible. Like, to me, this is just such a seamless no-brainer. Like, it's a huge deal, and I have to worry about the film part of it. You just have the analytics are right there, and most of the
Hmm.
time, like, we had a volleyball game last night. It was logged and ready for me. I think the email came at like 1:30 in the morning. The game was over at like 7:30 or 8 last night. It was logged and ready to view at 1 o'clock. So that's 5, 6 hours. So
Yeah, that's
it's
incredible.
there. Yeah, it's there very, very quickly. And again, without doing worrying any about the filming or any of that, it's great.
So, Jason, kind of taking a step away from the products that we're mainly focused on, the fixed camera and the analytics for Vidswap. Uh, Talk to us a little bit about, from your perspective as an athletic director, the value in having coaches using film today. Still we see a lot of coaches who don't use film for whatever reason. Maybe it's too expensive, using other competitors. Maybe they don't understand the value. Maybe they don't understand how to look at film and share it. As your role as an athletic director, how much do you stress that with your coaches to look at film and to share it, and why do you feel it's important?
Yeah, I think the interesting part about that is that the coaches that don't use it, and again, we're at a small school, so like we share a
Mhm.
lot of athletes, but if we have the basketball team, our boys basketball team was the first team that used this technology. And then it was like everyone kind of knew what was happening with the boys basketball team, and then they wanted to have it too. So it was almost like the students were like going to the coaches and saying like, "Hey, we need that too." And
Yeah.
so kind of slowly added programs, added teams to our package, with the most recent being our boys soccer team. But
Hmm.
a lot of our basketball players are on the soccer team, and they knew what was capable that Vidswap was capable of doing, and so they were like to the coach like, "Hey, you need to do this. It would be, don't you wish you could see this such and such play?" And I don't know soccer very well, but they kind of also were kind of telling the coach like, "Hey, this is how we could use this." And they use it themselves too. I've found that they log in and they look at their own plays and their
Oh,
own.
right. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so even though the coach may not be 100% behind it, the players started to use it, and then the coach like started to catch on too, and so they all are using it now. But yeah, I mean, I know it seems like it's a lot of work, but it has become so easy to use. Like, I wouldn't be afraid of like having to learn something new or having to
Hmm.
you know take time to figure it out. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and I also believe with the world we live in today with kids and having, video always at their fingertips on their devices, whether, it's Instagram or social media,
Yeah,
it's one of the ways that they're digesting information. And I think when you want to be successful and you want to develop players and you want to help them become better at what they do, it's great to have that film
yeah.
readily available for them.
For sure. And it's been a huge bonus for our program, because they, you know, it's like anything else that you do. You think as an athlete what you're doing is what you're being asked to do, but when you see it on film, like your eyes just become wide open to what you're actually doing and how different that is. So if people, which I think most people are these days, using film at some level, like it's so important to team development, because like for basketball, for example, if you're talking about somebody coming off a screen and you're telling them to get tight, get shoulder to shoulder, no space between you and the screener. And then on film, they watch and there's 5 feet between themselves and the screen. They thought in the game that they were right tight to it. And then you show up, like the film doesn't lie. So, you watch it and then they become more aware. And so it's definitely helped our programs in that way too.
And what I have been seeing on our side, because of our affordability with schools, I'm seeing more teams add the breakdowns, or more schools add the breakdowns to various teams. And I think more coaches are they want it in different sports. And being that we break down close to 13 sports, and that's the most that's in the market space today, including baseball, softball, field hockey. These coaches want it because they know this is the way that kids are digesting information and learning from it. So that's great. I appreciate all your perspective on all of that. I do know that you have an interesting story to share about using technology at your school and having opponents at your school not using technology, and I believe you have an interesting story that you were able to share with them. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we were at a league game last basketball season, and a player from the other team made this kind of miraculous, like over the head half court shot, like at the buzzer at halftime. And of course, it was in their gym, and so their crowd went crazy, and the kid, everybody on their team went nuts. And so afterwards, the coach knew, because we had the Air there filming that game, and we were talking about it before the game, like what it does and all of that, and talking about Vidswap and all the analytics part. So he had said his parents really wanted to see that shot, or they wanted to have that clip of that shot. So I was able to, within 30 seconds, identify that clip, send him the link to download the clip, and it was like so easy and seamless, and they were super appreciative, obviously. But it was just a good way to show a little good grace to our some of our schools in our area, and it gained interest by their part that they now have a Pixellot camera in their gym. So
that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of a neat story, and that kid will probably save that clip and share
Forever.
it with his kids when he's older.
Did you win that game, Jason?
We did, so it was easier.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If that would have been a game winner for the other team, I'm not sure I would have wanted to give it up so
you would have been so
but,
nice.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a ton of other alternatives out there in the space. What would be 2 or 3 reasons why you would continue to stick around with Vidswap and Pixellot?
Yep. I mean, obviously I've mentioned it. The seamlessness is definitely on the very top of that list. And again, to emphasize now that more and more schools are getting Pixellot cameras, and so you just don't have to worry about taking a camera with you, finding people to film on the road, all that stuff. So that's number one. I just feel like the ease of use of Vidswap platform itself is very much in line with how I work, at least, and just the way that they do their clips, and the way that you can get the information out of Vidswap that you really need is very customizable. It's very easy. They do the things that you would want, and then anything that they don't do, you could do manually. So there's always that option. And I just think, the sharing part of it too, I don't know if mentioned, but, if you are exchanging film with other schools, you can do whole games, and you can share those games for only a week or 2, so that they don't, they're not saving that game and then turning around and scouting you later. So you can share the game film that they want on an opponent that you share, and then you could set that link to expire in a week or 2 or however long. So I just think that they have thought out really well, like how coaches use this stuff, and it's made it very simple and very easy. And like I said, I think with the way it all ties in with everything that we have gone to, it's like somebody that has an iPhone, right? They're going to have an iPad,
Right.
they're going to have a Mac, and just how all those things work together. I very much compare that to those things. So the Pixellot, if you have a Pixellot camera, it's just natural to have Vidswap because of how it all works together.
That's a great point. You're absolutely right about the streamlining it from even like with the phone to a Mac computer. So this has been really great. Number one, great to meet you. Would love to talk X's and O's one day.
Yeah.
But the
We got to work on
experience
those 20 turnovers.
exactly. The experience that you've had with the NFHS using the cameras and now using the Vidswap has been great. And I know, one of the slides we have here is about our the charts and the heat maps that we can generate stats, even like leaderboards when we do districts with multiple schools or conferences where that information is really critical. But this has been hopefully very helpful for our participants that have been on the call. I think if we were to talk a little bit about what we wanted to focus in on, and that was listening to Jason's experience and his journey through the Pixellot, with the different products through Pixellot and with the NFHS network, and hopefully of the listeners hearing the benefit of technology and bringing technology into your schools is so important today. Lastly, hopefully we have our participants who want to learn more and who can do that by simply, you have my contact information here on our slide and my email address, as well as my phone number, to please give us a call. We'd love to set you up with some of our sales teams and do a really deep dive into our platform to show you sport specific, what sport you coach, so that you can see the stats that we're pulling and all the different features that Vidswap offers. So thank you so much, and best of luck with your season.
Thank you. Yeah.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jason. Thank you for everybody for joining us this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are. As Kiki said, feel free to reach out to this contact information, take a screen cap, keep it up for a few minutes. And in the meantime, we really appreciate the opportunity. Happy to reach out with any questions you have, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. All right. Thank you very much.